I've read hundreds, if not thousands, of personal development books. And A Changed Mind by David Baer was one of my most recent books that I read that drastically shifted my mindset, my life, and my business. And on this video, I want to walk you through the key lessons that I learned, the takeaways, the breakthroughs, and especially how I directly applied this stuff to shift my mindset quickly. That's, again, helping my business, my life, and everything about it. What's up, guys? My name is Nico Rapkless. I've been in the personal development space for, 20 plus years. And again, this book was absolutely incredible. And also in this video, I want to walk you through how I actually started utilizing the concepts in this book, directly applied it to utilizing AI so that I could amplify everything and actually put this into practice. And that's what we've done with our company, Vision Espresso. We're always taking cool ideas that are going to help us on a personal development standpoint and then turn them into AI processes. That's what our Vision Espresso app is all about, helping you become the best version of yourself utilizing AI. But I want to show you on this video how I directly did that to shifting one of my limiting beliefs so that I could flip that, build evidence around it, and then start experiencing a new reality because of it. Because on these videos that I go through with when I do books is I like to show you how to implement this stuff right away, because a book is great, but until you know and understand that book to a point where you can actually implement the information in a book, it's not as valuable. So years ago, I made this conscious decision to, anytime I picked up a book that I thought would be transformative, I decided I'm going to act like I paid $1,000 for this. And that's the approach that I oftentimes take when I read books like this. And another hack that I want to give to you that helped me really internalize these things and get them down in my subconscious, which I talk about all the time on this channel. Feel free to go check out the rest of these videos on here. But a way that you can really internalize this information 10 times more at a much quicker rate is you actually get the physical copy of the book, and then you also get the audiobook. I tend to use Audible, but then oftentimes these books are on Spotify as well. And if you have a premium account, which a lot of people do, you don't even need to pay anything extra to get the book if it is on Spotify. So that's a nice little hack. But with all that said, let's jump into this information about A Changed Mind by David Baer. So one of the biggest things about this book is that it's helping you identify limiting beliefs and then spin and turn those limiting beliefs into new empowering decisions so that you can experience a new reality. Because at the end of the day, what David talks about in this book is that our beliefs dictate our reality. Whatever you believe to be true, that is what you're going to experience. So it's not necessarily what you're experiencing in life, it's about how you think about it. So if you're saying hey, in order for me to build $1 million business, then I have to become a expert at lead generation. So that is your belief. If you have that belief, and I'll show you how to unpack and find these beliefs a little bit more. And again, I'll talk a little bit how to use AI in this sense as well. So you find the belief, but if that belief is true, what I'm talking about here is that if you believe that you have to be a lead generation expert and you have to generate hundreds of thousands of leads in order for you to build $1 million business, that is going to be your reality. And until you become a lead generation expert, you won't build $1 million business. So you got to start thinking about it from that lens, and that comes from awareness. That's why meditation is so important. That's why journaling is so important, and going through these decision framework, this decision matrix framework that he has is really, really powerful. So you have to take time to be able to sit with that and have conversations with yourself to figure out what are those limiting beliefs. And I'll walk you through that framework here in a second, but I want to just stress the importance of that and how powerful it is to give yourself space so that you can start identifying what those limiting beliefs are. If you're constantly going and going and going and going, and you're giving yourself no breaks, no pauses, no meditation, no breath work, no mindfulness, and giving yourself some space to breathe and see what's actually going on, zoom out, get a little bit more perspective on your life, it's going to be very challenging because those limiting beliefs are just going to get muddled up in everything, right? And it's going to be very challenging to pour out. So, when things really started shifting for me was when I started getting more awareness, and I was able to do that because I started giving myself more space. It started with meditation, it started with breath work, then more like mindfulness throughout the day, where I was taking my meditation practice, but I was taking that into the rest of the day. more so, where I was like basically meditating throughout the day, not necessarily eyes closed and sitting down and listening to music. It was more so I just became more present. And as ideas would pop up or things would pop up, my awareness would gain, and I would see, oh, there's a potential limiting belief. There, like, oh, that's what I'm experiencing. So that's a limiting belief. And I'll share one of my limiting beliefs, how I kind of flipped that after reading this book here in a second, to give you more firm foundation, because I know like some of this is a little bit arbitrary, but I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about here in a second. So I want to explain the decision matrix framework that he has, because it really shifted for me. So what you do, and this is so important, and I'm such a big advocate of like, what do you want? I've asked that question a lot. What do you want? What is your vision? What are you creating? Again, that's what we do with Vision Espresso, and we have a process that helps you actually get clear on your vision and what you want. But that you have to answer that question first, and a lot of people can't. I've just realized that over time. I mean, we've worked with hundreds of clients at this point, and some clients, some of our best clients, when I first asked them that, they kind of looked at me sideways and were like, "What are you talking about? What do I want?" So one thing I'll share with you that David actually does not share in this book: if you don't know what you want, a better question, in my opinion, because our brains are always much more programmed towards the negative side of things, we're just survival. It's just a survival mechanism. But you can ask, what do you not want? Okay, what do you not want? We oftentimes know exactly what we don't want. I know I don't want a shitty little apartment. I know I don't want a terrible relationship. I know I don't want to be unhealthy. So what you can do, and this was quite popular, it's known as inversion thinking, but Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Charlie Munger were all the ones that kind of coined this popular. But it's like basically you go and you do the things that you don't want, and then you just flip them. You invert them. So if you're like, hey, I don't want to be unhealthy. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be sick all the time. I want to be healthy all the time. I want to be in shape. I want to be skinny. I want to be muscular. So that's just like the starting point, but you got to get the idea. So coming back to the decision framework is that you got to figure out what you want, right? You got to say, hey, I want to build $1 million business. Hey, I want to have a healthy, committed, God-centered relationship with my partner, or whatever it is. I want a home. I want to travel more, whatever it is. I want to have more peace and abundance. I want to operate with more integrity. I want to operate with more authenticity. Whatever it is, it can be like things, or it could just be internal behaviors. It could be how you want to show up to life. And I think that's so important. That's what I preach all the time, is like, it's all about intentional living. The more intentional you are, and that's kind of what we're saying, is like, what do you want? You're just like, hey, how do I want to live? What's my intention for today? That's a beautiful practice. Strongly recommend that you always are asking yourself, what's my intention for today? The more you start thinking about that, the more things start opening up and expanding. Okay, so that's point number one of the decision matrix, is what do you want? Okay, and then from there, this is where we're actually going to unveil the limiting beliefs. Okay, so when you say, hey, I want $1 million business, well, what's the problem with that? Why has that not been created yet? So again, I'm just talking from my lens more, so I want to share with you kind of what I experienced. So it's like, yes, I want to build $1 million business. So I asked myself, why is that not the case yet, right? With Vision Espresso specifically. And there was like a whole list of 5, right? And he shared this at this event that I was at, and that's where I saw him speak, which just really impacted me, which had me going deep on his book. But it was a combination of things. It was like, I need to generate more leads. I need to have a more dialed in sales process. I need to charge more for my prices. And so I kind of unpacked those even a little bit more, but what you can see right there is that now I have these beliefs that say, I need more leads to build $1 million business, right? So that is my belief. Until I get more leads, I won't build $1 million business. Is that true? Well, yes, because it's my belief. It is true. And then from there, I need to have a more dialed in sales process. So think about this. This is powerful, and I'm just like kind of workshopping this as I'm talking to you guys, is that I need to have a more dialed in sales process in order to build $1 million business. Well, what if, I'm just saying, like, I'm thinking through this right now, is that if that is my belief, where I need more leads, I need to get a consistent flow of leads every single day while I'm sleeping. Let's just say I kind of unpack it even more. That's my belief until I can build $1 million business. And then even further, I need to have a dialed in sales process that's just like so tight. And so that's my belief. Until I have a dialed in sales process, I won't build $1 million business. That's basically what it's saying. So what I'm kind of getting at, I'm just having some downloads and realizations right now. What if I made a connection with somebody that had a huge email list, huge social media following, and just had like everything I needed, and he has like a way to implement this stuff right into his ecosystem of all his people that want something like what I have to offer. Well, if I have the belief that I need to get at least 20, 30 leads a day, and I need to have a completely dialed in sales process, that's my belief. It's going to be blocking me from ever meeting that type of person that could instantly shift everything in a moment, where like he could actually be the one that actually just installs Vision Espresso into his ecosystem. Therefore, I don't need a consistent flow of leads from my efforts, and I don't need a dialed in sales process because he's already got something, right? So it's just interesting to think about, like, I would block myself off. And I think the fact that I work through this whole decision framework, which I'll get to all of it here in a second, is that's blocking me off from that before then. But it's interesting because once I made this shift that what I'll explain here in a second, I actually had a conversation with somebody yesterday that there is potential that all that kind of stuff will happen. So it's really interesting how quickly this stuff works. Okay, so you start identifying exactly what are those limiting beliefs, and then you flip them, right? You make a decision on what you want to be true. Okay, because what you have to understand, what David talks about in this book, is that beliefs are nothing more than perpetual decisions. I think he says perpetual, but in essence, that's what it is, because he says that you also have to stay loyal to your decisions. Sometimes your decisions don't happen right away, right? In some cases they can, but you have to make a new decision. So it's like coming back to like the leads or the dialed in sales process. What ended up happening, like I kind of combined all of those. And what I said is that the people that are resonant with Vision Espresso, they're going to recognize the value right away, and they're going to pay top dollar because they see the value in it, how it could shift their life and their business. That was the new decision. That was the new belief. Right? So I got empowered on that. And what was interesting, because like another limiting belief that I had is that like people don't want to pay top dollar for the transformation. It's more that they just want to support me, because over the years, like I built up a good network, I built up a good community, even a social media following to a degree. And, you know, a lot of my clients have been people that I've already known that like and trust me. And so I had this belief that like, oh, they just want to support me. They don't actually see the value in this. But once I shifted that, it was like the right people recognize this and see the value and pay top dollar for it. That was the new belief. I had this shift in mindset where I was like, well, I went from thinking, oh, well, people only want to support me, to like, what a gift that is. People want to support me and they see the value. What a double whammy that really is to really elevate this company, far greater than I could ever do just on the transformation alone. And it was just such a mindset shift. And then, like I said, there was a big shift because the next day I got on a call with a guy that like deeply resonated with like the story, me, as well as the value that we provide. And there's a lot of opportunity with this. And he already actually went through our Vision Espresso sample process. He did it like quickly. Like most people take a little bit of time. It only takes like 10 minutes, but he did it like on spot, already ready. We're setting up a podcast to show him his Vision Espresso audio on that podcast. And then he said he wants to put that podcast out to all his network so they can show him what it's all about. So it's really cool how things can shift really quickly. And who knows if it would have happened if I didn't make that shift. And that's even the fourth part of it, is that you start collecting evidence. So you figure out what you want. Okay, you can use the inversion method if you want. Then you say, what are all the reasons that I'm not there yet? Okay, those are then the limiting beliefs. Then you flip those limiting beliefs and make new decisions. And then the fourth part is you gather evidence. And so I started stacking evidence before, because I was like, even though I had this belief, I started looking at it and be like, well, this guy came to one of my events, saw the value, and then boom, he paid right away. I also looked at it like this. I think it actually came from this book. It said the self-help industry is a $40 billion industry. So that was another piece of evidence that I collected. And then now having this conversation with this guy, like that's another piece of evidence. But I'm continuing to stack the evidence because our brain wants proof. Our mind wants proof. Our subconscious mind wants proof. And that's the thing that's governing everything at the end of the day. So you can see how this process worked. And it's such a powerful thing. So I would highly recommend going through that process. And again, like I mentioned, I actually did all this through AI. So if you guys would like me to walk you through that, I just wanted to explain the book a little bit more. And then I have one other thing to talk about within this book that I think is governing a lot of that. In addition, like if you combine these two things, I think it's just rocket fuel. But if you guys want me to walk you through how I did that via AI to make it a little bit easier and help AI like help you unpack the limiting beliefs even more, let me know. Put a part 2 down in the comments and give me your favorite emoji. I will make that part 2 and we'll go from there. Okay. So last thing that I want to share is that he talks about the two states. Okay. Primal versus powerful. Okay. Primal versus powerful. Primal is any you call it low vibrational state, right? Fear, worry, anxiety, doubt, any of those type of things. That is a primal state and you're not feeling good. And then it's ultimately you're leading towards limiting beliefs. And if you are in a powerful state, joy, happiness, gratitude, love, abundance, that is when you're in a powerful state. And that's when you are aligned with what you want. Because if you're not feeling good and you're thinking about what you want, you're understanding that you're clashing against your limiting beliefs. You might say you want $1 million business, but if you have a belief that you can only make $10,000 a month, then that's clashing and that's hitting a limiting belief. And you can know that because of the fact that you're in a primal state. Okay? You're in a primal state. So you want to be in a powerful state as much as possible. How do you do that? You have to train yourself to get into a powerful state. So 2 things that I would recommend, he talks about this in the book, is that 1, at the end of your days, like start tracking how, like just generally speaking, you won't know for certain. I'm working on putting together some type of tracking system to figure out how often you're in a primal state versus in a powerful state. But just start like guessing, like estimating, like how many hours was I in a primal state versus a powerful state today? Was it 5 hours? Was it 10 hours? Was it 2 hours? Was it 1 hour? It could be higher, lower. It could be anywhere in between, right? But what you want to do is you want to start identifying, okay, I was in it for 6 hours today. I was in it for 5.5 hours today. I was in it for 7 hours a day. So the more awareness you bring to it is really powerful. Awareness is always going to be the first step. And then from there, you start actively putting yourself in a powerful state. I love meditation. I love breath work, those type of things. But the longer that you sit in those, and then obviously doing the Vision Espresso puts you in a powerful state. And the more consistently that you do that, the more you're doing it throughout the day. Like, I like to elevate my meditation practice. I did about a little over 30 minutes a day when I was in a really powerful state doing my meditation as well as my Vision Espresso. And then I was in a powerful state for 36 minutes. And I was even earlier this morning, I was kind of like when I was at the gym and doing yoga and lifting, I could feel myself being in a powerful state. And so I just had more awareness around this. So I've already collected probably like at least like 4 or 5 hours of being in a powerful state and probably only like 30 minutes in a primal state, maybe. So I have more awareness around that. And the more awareness you have around it, and then the more that you actively put yourself in a powerful state, your body is getting used to that state. And the more that you get used to being in that state, the body craves it even more. But if you're just unconsciously continually going to a primal state, your body's going to get used to that and it's going to start craving that even more. So you got to be intentional. It all comes back to intention. And then again, that's what Vision Espresso is all about. So if you do want to go check it out, you can check out our free sample. It takes you about 10 minutes. You'll get a 1-minute audio back from your future self in your voice with emotional frequencies in there. It's really powerful. So you go to visionespresso.co if you want to check that out. But that's really just, guys, let me know if you do want me to make a part 2 specifically with the AI stuff. And then something I'm always going to keep doing on these videos is that leave a coffee emoji just so I know that you made it to the end of the video. These are my soldiers. I like to call them trees, right? You can put a tree emoji too. But I think about that with our podcast. It's called Just Grow. That came from a story about like how trees always are just growing. So I'll know who my trees are at the end of the videos because they left the tree emojis. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure and check out a bunch of the other videos, specifically the one about the how I used AI to reprogram my subconscious mind, because that is a powerful video to help you understand how to use AI in a really powerful way to really reprogram your subconscious and become the best version of yourself. I appreciate you guys. Share this video with someone that you love, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Take care.